All right. So, who am I? My name is Royal, and that's my wife and co-owner right there next to me. I'm the owner of Assurance DNA. Assurance DNA is a nationwide paternity testing service. We're currently based in El Paso, Texas. Okay. I'm in the military. I'm an active duty military officer. I've been in the military for 8 years, and I started this business last year to basically help people find the truth and to set up a nice side income for my military career. And I'm also the founder of Paternity University, so that's why you're here, to get that good information from me. All right, next slide. So how did I get into the business? Well, my mother, she owns a paternity testing business, and she's owned one for the past 20 years or so. So over the past 20 years, I have seen, from the beginning, how my mom started her business and how she has done. Me personally, last year, a little bit past last year, about a year and 3 months ago, my wife and I were trying to get into a mobile home investment. And it was just ridiculous. It was taking so long, dealing with title, dealing with the DMV. It was just super freaking annoying. All right. Um, but we decided to pivot. I decided to pivot. I was like, you know what? How I can set my own paternity testing business up, and it's not going to take $10,000 to do it or $6,000 to do it. And we went from there. I whiteboarded it out with my wife. We discussed it. She loved it, and here we are now. Running Assurance DNA pretty much in 2 cities. So let me know. I mean, you guys are on this webinar. Why do you want to get into the business? Let me know. Put it in the chat box. I'm curious to see why you want to get into the business. A lot of people say, to set up some side income. A lot of people say they want to, help people. But why do you want to get into the paternity testing business? I'll go ahead and wait for y'all to let me know in the chat. Okay, so Tony says looking for a side income opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely possible. With minimal effort, honestly, you can make about $1,000 a month from DNA testing. Minimum effort. Um, Artea, am I saying that correctly? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? I like to try to say people's names correctly. So Artea says set my own schedule. Yeah, you can. You can, absolutely. You can. Okay, great. So what is DNA paternity testing? All right. So paternity testing, the word paternal means father. So paternity testing is determining the biological relationship between an alleged father and a child. We always use alleged father because we don't know for sure if that's the father. There's other ways to determine a paternal relationship, such as grandparent, siblingship, or avuncular testing, which the word uncle is in avuncular. So I always think of it. That means testing the aunt or the uncle. But there's other ways to do it. But a paternity test is that direct. You said Artea says you already joined. You probably won't remember. I think I actually do remember you. Um, Paternity testing is determining that direct biological relationship between an alleged father and child. There's relationship testing, like I said, that is grandparent, siblingship, or avuncular. That's the way to do it. So paternity testing, that's what that is. It's a big industry, but it's not a very well-known industry, and that's why I created Paternity University. It is a billion-dollar industry. In 2006, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about 500,000 paternity tests were done a year. 15 years later, going on, 16 years later, I'm quite sure that has changed. It's probably at around 1.5 or 2 million paternity tests a year. Okay. Um, I will get into that, Damien. Exactly. I will get into what are the keys to starting a paternity testing business. I got you. All right. So, on average, according to this link here, according to this article on DNAtesting.com, 1 in 3 men who get a paternity test are not the father. Let that sink in. 1 in 3 men who get a paternity test are not the father. All right. That's real. Of the tests that I do as of lately, I would say it's more like 1 in 4 men who get a paternity test in my area are not the father. But they have these questions and they need to get them answered, whether it's for legal purposes or personal reasons. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into that next couple of slides. You'll know why people want to get in paternity testing, and then I'll teach you how to start the business. All right. So why do people get paternity tests? One, for peace of mind. They just want to know. Sometimes alleged fathers as well as mothers just want to know, they have done what they've done. Is fine. People are people. Humans are humans. We make mistakes or we do things. It's fine. It's understandable, but they want peace of mind. They just want to know, and they don't want to use the results for any type of legal purposes at all. Okay. And then the second reason is for legal purposes. And we talk about chain of custody. That's the specific document used to document the actual paternity test itself. So the legal reasons are if a man wants to obtain custody of a child, if he's an unmarried man, that is him going to the court and saying, hey, I want to request custody for this child. But in order to do that, that is you have to get a paternity test first and legitimate that child. I'll get into that a little bit later. That's legal stuff. But then there's child support, inheritance, immigration, and Social Security, amongst any type of legal reason when you have to prove that you are the father is the reasons for a legal paternity test. Okay, you said you can't see the document. Can you not? Can you see the Damien? Can you see the presentation? Okay. Oh, you said it's super small. I don't know. That's weird. I don't know what to small on the screen. Huh. I don't know. Can everybody else see the actual presentation? Just let me know if you can see the actual presentation. Is it small for y'all, or can y'all see it? Let me know, because I'm trying to share the actual screen. Okay, so you can see it. Okay, you can see it. Okay, all right. Damien, check to see if you're looking in the Zoom or if you're okay. All right. So what's the difference between a collector and an agency owner? I get into that from time to time on my Twitter. What a DNA collector is and a DNA agency owner. It's a little bit of a difference. So a collector only collects samples. Okay, so they work with a laboratory, a DNA testing laboratory or relationship laboratory, and the laboratory sends them, hey, you need to go collect DNA samples for this DNA test on our behalf. We'll send you out, we'll let you know where to go, and we're going to pay you $25 to do it. And they'll pay you $25 and they'll send you a check or something like that a month and a half later. All right, that's what a collector is. Okay. They're reactionary, so they only react to calls to collect samples. They might not get calls for weeks or months. It just depends. Okay. And that's more so good for someone who doesn't necessarily want to start a full business yet and just wants exposure to the industry, because even with private DNA agents, agency owners like me, I can call individual collectors and say, hey, I need you to do a DNA collection for me. I am in El Paso, you are in Houston, my client's in Houston, collect on my behalf and I will pay you. I pay them more. I pay them $75 to $125 for a collection. The labs pay, 35, 25, $50. They pay pennies. Okay. Arte, you can do that. Yeah, go to my website, go to paternityuniversity.com, and you can schedule a one-on-one coaching. Because I think you're already a student, I believe, and you just need some one-on-one coaching. That's fine. That's completely fine. That's what I have it for. Okay. So an agency owner is partnered with a DNA laboratory. Okay, that's what an agency owner is. We are distributors or resellers of DNA testing. So we're partnered with a DNA laboratory. I'll get into the different DNA labs that are out there. So we own our own business. There is no limit to what we can do with the DNA testing business. We fully advertise our services to the public. We can price our services the way we see fit. We can outsource aspects of the business. We can hire VAs, collectors. We can do whatever we want. Okay, we can build the business. There's no limit to what we can build as a DNA testing collector. I'm sorry, as an agency owner. Okay, you own your own business. Okay, so that's the difference. All right, a collector only collects samples. They get called every once in a while from an agency or a lab to say, hey, collect on my behalf. And then an agency owner is partnered with a DNA laboratory. Okay, that's what that is. All right. So what do you need to start a DNA agency? I think you were asking this question, Damien. What do you need to start, or how do you start it? Okay. So very, basic level to start, you need to just pick a name. Okay. Pick a name, something easy that can be found on Google. Okay. You see the examples right there. I mean, you can, get fancy. I have Assurance DNA. One of my students has Clarity DNA. The other student has Big Easy DNA because he's in New Orleans. You can think, that's fine. You can think of whatever you want to think of. Just don't spend months thinking of a name or weeks thinking of a name. Just pick something and go. All right. You want to, incorporate your business. Check with your state Secretary of State website for more information. I'm not an attorney. I won't tell you how to incorporate your business. You can do LLC, C Corp, S Corp, however you want to do it. Some people have the belief of go ahead and get your first client to do that. Go ahead and try to start making money first before you incorporate your business. Me personally, I incorporated my business. I like to set up separate entities from myself. Okay, so speak to an attorney if you feel as though you don't know whether to do LLC, C Corp, sole proprietor, S Corp, however. Okay, get your EIN, so your employer identification number, for free from irs.gov. Do not pay people to get an EIN. You don't have to do that. It's free. You can get it in 10 minutes. All right, that's basically your business's social security number. All right, and then set up your business bank account. So that's the very basic starting steps to set up administratively your business. Okay, that's just basic business. So that's what you do in any type of business. Okay, then you want to get into this next list of things. So buying your domain name, you can go on Squarespace. You could go, wherever you want to go to buy your domain name. Do your research on the labs to partner with, which I provide in the course. Okay. What labs to look at, what labs to partner with. And I talk about that stuff in the Slack channel too, the private Slack channel. Okay. Then you'll contact that laboratory. So there are different laboratories that process DNA samples. That's who you're going to go with. Okay. There's different laboratories that process DNA samples. You don't have the equipment to process a DNA sample. You don't. You're the middleman. You're between the client and the lab. You do the swabbing, you send the swabs out, or you outsource it. Okay. So there's different labs out there that you will apply to be a distributor or reseller. All right. There's DDC, there's United Forensics, Universal Forensics, there's Ravgen, there's LabCorp. There's different labs out there. You do your own research on the labs that you want to partner with. You'll contact that lab and then you'll sign a partnership contract with that lab. Some labs don't do contracts, some labs do. Some labs have special, contract prices. Some labs have non-contract prices. That's how you set up to, be able to distribute the DNA testing services. All right. Then you want to, this is the other steps that you want to do. You don't have to do these exact in order, but you want to set up your professional email. You don't want to have, DamienYoung@gmail.com as your business Gmail or email. You want to have something professional so that you can get that in G Suite, or you can go through Squarespace. I personally like Squarespace. I go through Squarespace to set up my professional email. You want to have it at, I have mine at cs@assurancedna.com. All right, CS stands for customer service. Probably should have thought that through a little bit, but or info@assurancedna.com, service@dnatesting.com, whatever. You want to have a professional email. Set up your Google Voice or separate business phone line. I have a separate business phone for my business. I don't do business on my personal phone, so that when my business phone rings, I know it's a business call. All right. Get your logo from Fiverr or any graphic designer. Don't spend a year on a logo. Don't do that. All right. That's customers, clients. Yes, it's cool to have a logo. That's great. Clients, honestly, what they do, they go on Google Maps Google they go on Google Maps or they Google search, and they literally just go down the list of all the DNA testing area businesses in the area and just call them. They don't care about your logo. They don't care about what your name is. What they care about is what service you can offer and if you answer the phone. That's what clients care about. So do not spend 8 months or 6 months on a logo. Don't do that. Don't waste your time. Have something, yes, you can always rebrand and reinvent the logo and all that stuff. You can do that. That's fine. But don't waste a bunch of time on that stuff. All right. Probably the one of the top 3 most important things is the next step. Okay. So, after you have gotten your domain name, partnered with the lab, set up your Google My Business account. That is extremely, extremely important. That's how clients find you. Okay. So, when you Google stuff, you Google pizza place near me or bike shop San Antonio or something like that. You probably Google it. And then you see those little red pins pop up on Google. Those businesses have placed themselves on Google My Business. That's what that is. You want to set your business up in Google My Business. That is extremely important. I get into that in the course and in the Slack channel. So, I get really deep into that stuff. That's important. That's how clients find you. Other than that, they ain't going to find you. All right. You can have a website. That's cool. Unless your SEO is tight, and SEO takes months to a year or so, a little bit longer to set up. You need to get on Google My Business. Trust me. And then set up your Google Ads account too. That's really important as well. All right. And then set up your payment system. So your invoicing system. How are people going to pay? That's Square, that's Stripe, that's QuickBooks, whatever. Okay. Set up your invoicing system. Link that to your business bank account. And that's how you start your agency. But yeah, researching the labs, contacting a lab, signing a lab partnership contract. The lab also, this is why this business is so dope, because you don't need thousands of dollars to start, because you don't have to buy a lab or anything like that. When you partner with a lab, they'll send you the kits. They'll send you the DNA testing kits, okay, or the materials for free. You might pay shipping with some labs, but the lab that I'm partnering with, DDC, they don't charge to ship you the DNA testing kits that you will use to test the people, okay? So there's no upfront cost for that. They'll send you a box of 10, 15 kits or whatever, and that's a couple $1,000s of revenue right there. They'll send it to you for free, no upfront cost. Anybody got any questions right now? Any questions? Any concerns? I'll answer them right now. What licenses, insurances, certification do you need? Okay, so licenses, a business license, insurance, general liability insurance is highly encouraged. However, the problem that I found with the insurance industry is that they don't know what DNA testing is. Like there's no way to quantify it. So it's been difficult to find general liability insurance, because they're like, what is that? What is DNA testing? Do you own the lab? What are you, a consultant, a middleman? And you explain it, and they're just like, we don't want to touch it. We don't want to insure. We don't know what that is. So, certifications, no, you don't need any certifications. Startup cost, getting your business license. So if you try to do LLC or whatever, that depends on your state. That can be, Georgia is $100 or so, to set up your business license. It depends on what state you're in for that. So your startup cost probably be minimal, probably less than $500 total. Okay, you don't need a certification. How do you protect yourself from lawsuit? General liability insurance. All right. So, letting them know, hey, I am a DNA testing consultant. You'd have to find probably a localized insurance agency to insure you, as opposed to one of the larger big brokers. You probably have to find a more local one to insure you. That's how you protect yourself from lawsuits. You get general liability and I think the cyber insurance. Okay, good questions, Damien. Any other questions? I'd love to answer them. Do you recommend any associations to be part? What do you mean by associations? As in like a DNA testing association to be partnered with? Oh yeah. Better Business Bureau definitely helps for sure. Yeah. So I'm a Better Business Bureau member in my city. They actually run ads for me on Google Ads. and that generates business for me. You can do Chamber of Commerce. I'm not a member of Chamber of Commerce in my area, but I wouldn't see why that wouldn't hurt, because that'll get you to know more family law attorneys, maybe judges, other business owners who may know people who need DNA testing. So yeah, those are some associations to look into being part of. Better Business Bureau for sure. AABB accredited. So you won't be AABB accredited. The lab that you use to do DNA testing will be AABB accredited. AABB accredited is American Association of Blood Banks. There's 41 AABB accredited laboratories in the world. You won't be that, because it takes a lot of money to get accredited, and you yourself don't do the testing. The people who need to be AABB accredited or CAP accredited, which is a College of American Pathologists, I'm sorry, they have to be accredited. So DNA Diagnostic Center, LabCorp, Universal, those people have to be accredited. You don't. Okay, so it doesn't really matter for you. But what you can do when you set up your business and you put it on your website and you advertise, you can say, we are partnered with an AABB accredited lab, but you yourself are not. So you cannot say that you are. All right, good questions. All right, so what labs can you partner with? How do you get consistent and persistent work to become a full-time business owner? Well, I'm full-time military. I'm in the military for the next at least 5 to 8 years or so. So how do you get consistent and persistent work? I'll get into that. That is basically answering your phone. For example, I have a student, he might actually come on in a minute. I have a student of mine who made $4,000 this month so far doing DNA testing. And it's because in his market, in his area, the competition that he has sucks. They don't answer their phones. They don't call people back. They treat people like crap. All right. So he is one of the better DNA testing businesses in his city. All right. So he is able to build his business and get consistent and persistent work. So, I mean, whatever his income is with his full-time job right now, he'll be able to replace it probably within the next 6 months to a year or so. But it depends on your area, your competition, how you market. It all just depends. All right. I've gotten consistent business definitely over the past year or so, that if I wanted to leave my job, well, if I could, I can't because I'm in the military, I'm under contract. If I wanted to leave my job the next year or so, I could. Okay. How do you scale it? Well, that is increasing your marketing. That is increasing your relationships. That is outsourcing testing. That is hiring virtual assistants that can help you kind of outsource the small tasks. But scaling it really is just increasing your marketing and increasing, letting people know what you do. Finding clients in different cities. Can you do drug testing? So I don't do drug testing, not right now at least. Okay. That drug testing is an entirely separate industry, an entirely separate business. However, good question. A lot of DNA testing businesses or drug testing businesses do vice versa. So they offer both drug testing and DNA testing to complement each other. But those are two separate industries. So you have to get certified in drug testing for sure, especially when you do Department of Transportation drug testing. You have to get certified for that. That is a whole separate arm of the business, or a whole separate business. All right. So I currently don't do that. Not right now. I focus on DNA testing. Okay. So researching the competition. All right. So this is critically important. As you are building your businesses. Here's how you do market research on your competition. How many, Google reviews do they have? How many Better Business Bureau reviews do they have? All right, check their reviews. I had a student of mine who set up in Detroit, and I helped him do his market research, and all the other DNA testing companies had 1.5 stars or 2 stars. They were horrible. Like I said, they barely answered the phone. They were always closed. They weren't open on weekends. They weren't mobile. Whatever. Some of the people said that their results were weird, or they were probably scamming people or whatever. All right. So do your research on the other DNA testing. Call them. All right. So call them up. Ask them, hey, I need act like you're a client. Hey, I need a DNA test, but can you send someone out to me, for an extra fee? All right, that's asking if they have mobile services, or do they only have a place where you can go? And there's nothing wrong with that if they only have a place where you can go. But sometimes, the next question is, are they open on weekends? Sometimes these places might not be open on weekends, and you have clients that want a DNA test on the weekend. And you either, can be open, you can have your own office, and I'll get into that as well, or you can be mobile and you can meet them somewhere and do a DNA test. You don't have to do it in your office. All right. You ask them, what lab are they using? Is the lab AABB accredited, like I discussed earlier? And what are their prices? Ask them their prices. Ask them the price for a standard paternity test, alleged father and child, or ask them prenatal paternity testing, which is pregnancy paternity testing, okay? Or a siblingship test, or a grandparent test, or an avuncular test. Ask them. And I get into that in the course. I get really deep into that in the course. All right. That's the basics of how to research your competition. All right. So like I said, that's why one of the students, Adonis, is crushing it in his market, because there is no competition, number one, and the competition doesn't do good with customer service. So, and he barely advertises. All right. He's crushing it. All right. So the good stuff, how do you make money? All right. How much can you charge for a DNA test? It depends on the service you're offering and the competitors in your area. So like I said, a standard legal paternity test. So a standard legal paternity test between an alleged father and a child, even adding in the mother. Like I said, this is used for legal purposes, court admissible purposes. That can go between $300 and $500. And you see the list here. Informational is just they want to know. That's a kit that you send them. You don't swab them. Okay. That can go between $200 and $250, depending. Some places, what happens is too, clients might call and say, well, I can go to Walgreens and get a paternity test there for $20. Why are you charging me $199? Well, what happens is they go to Walgreens and they swab themselves and send it into the lab. The lab says, hey, cool, we got it. But in order to unlock your results, you got to pay a fee of $175 or something like that. So the true price is about equal to what you would offer. I just offer it all up front. I don't say there's any hidden fees or anything like that. Okay. So prenatals. So you see that's a high price right there for non-invasive prenatals. Non-invasive prenatals is a pregnancy paternity test. So it means that the woman is still pregnant and she wants a paternity test. Now, why does it cost so much? Because it costs a lot of money for the lab to do the testing. It costs them money to separate the fetal DNA from the blood, from the mother's blood. Okay, the fetal DNA from the mother's DNA in her blood. Okay. The non-invasive prenatal is a higher price. So you can charge between $1,200 and $1,800 for it. The labs will charge you between $850 and $1,200 to process it. So it's a lower profit margin on that one, but a lot of people want it. I get at least 5 to 7 calls a week for prenatal testing just in my area, just specifically in my city. Okay. So you get that a lot. Siblingship, that is testing when the alleged father is not available, or he's deceased, or he doesn't want to test. And there's 2 siblings that you can test to see if there is a relationship tied between the fathers. There's a common relationship between the 2. You can charge that much. Grandparent, the same thing. Father's not available or deceased, you can charge that much money for a grandparent test. That's testing his parents. Or testing one of his parents, the mother and the child, to see if there's a relationship. Deceased, now that's a higher price. I personally have not done a deceased test, but my business partner has. All right. That is if the person has recently is deceased and he is actually, that individual is still in the morgue. Okay. And you can go and swab that deceased individual. I personally don't want to do that, but people do that. Okay. Infidelity tests. People want infidelity tests sometimes too, to see if their partner is cheating on them by comparing semen. Okay, people do that. They swab themselves. They take a article of clothing or whatever, a sample of it where the semen may be, panties, whatever it could be. They send it into the lab, and the lab compares it and says, hey, this semen does not match your semen. So maybe somebody's cheating. You can charge $400 to $500 for that. And discrete testing between $350 and $400. Now that is Some people don't want to have that conversation and approach the other person and say, hey, we need a DNA test. So they'll take some of their nails or their hair or a toothbrush or a cigarette or something like that, send it into the lab and compare the child's DNA to see if there's a match there. So that's how much you can charge. There's what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different streams of income within the DNA testing business. It depends on certain areas want certain things. It's really interesting. I get a lot of prenatal calls and informational and standard legal. Some people get a lot of siblingship, grandparentage, because sometimes the alleged fathers are in prison or they're deceased. It depends on the city. It depends on your area, but you can offer those services. Are these fees set in stone state by state? Good question, Damien. Excellent question. They're not set in stone. It just depends. It depends on your area. And it just depends on what your competition is offering. So part of your market research, when you call those other places, those other DNA testing agencies, is to see how much they charge. Who determines the rates? The agency does. The business owner determines the rates. It just depends on, so for example, on average in Georgia, a DNA test, it goes between $350 and $400. That's just the going rate. It just depends on the state. In California, where the cost of living is higher, they can charge higher. You can charge $495 for a DNA test for the same one with the same lab that you're using. It just depends on the state. It just depends. And the state doesn't determine that. I'm just saying that the area that you are in, depending on the cost of living or just the general prices of things in that area, can determine how much you can charge. Plus your competition, what are they charging? For example, I had my DNA test set for a while for $350. I got less sales when I had my test set at $350. I lowered my rate to $299, and that made me more competitive because the other places were charging $350, $325, $330 or whatever. I lowered mine. I undercut my competition by $299 or $299, and now I'm getting a lot more sales. Okay, so it just depends, especially on your competition. So that's why I have that range there. All right, so yeah, the labs don't set those prices for how much you can charge. The labs have their set prices for how much they charge you to test the samples. Now that's a set in stone price. Okay, but I hope I answered your question there. All right. So here's the most important aspect of starting this business is patience. And that's with any business, honestly. But patience is critical to starting this business. You definitely want to be patient and understand your market. The biggest mistake that I made in starting this business was trying to market in a bunch of different cities at once, like setting up Google ads to point back to my website and trying to market to a bunch of different cities at one time. All right. That didn't work because I didn't fully, truly understand each market. Birmingham has a different market and what people want and what people are willing to pay and what the competition's out there than El Paso, than in Baltimore, than in Philadelphia. It varies somewhat. So you have to have patience. If you start your business, focus on your area first. Don't try to immediately scale within the first 2 weeks and try to advertise in the whole country, because the whole country, it varies a little bit. People's needs vary a little bit depending on where you're at. So focus on your area and expand further out in your area when you're ready. Because there are certain areas outside of your city that are not they're not looked at all for DNA testing. A lot of companies want to focus on the big cities, but they're not looked at all. So there's a need for DNA testing in some of the smaller areas outside of your metro area. Okay, so that's something to look at for sure. But it's patience. It's patience. Usually, my students who have done their DNA test within the first month or so, 3 weeks to a month or so after starting their DNA testing business, they get their first test. So just be patient, but set everything up. Don't also, like I said, don't do analysis paralysis. Don't, try to focus on designing the perfect logo. Don't waste time on certain things, because you can get those little things knocked out. Actually go ahead and get partnered with the lab. Get on Google My Business, get your stuff set up. What database can you use to see the market saturation? That's a perfect. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. This industry is so weird that the actual paternity testing market data doesn't really truly exist. There's some trade journals that you can buy, I think for a couple $1,000 that has it, but there's no database where you can see the market saturation. Now, what you can do is go on Google Trends, and you can see what people are searching for paternity testing in each state or each city or wherever you're at. You can see that, but there's no like database where you can see market saturation. Just search your city. Where are you at, Damien? By the way, what city are you in? Atlanta. Yeah. Okay. So there's competition in Atlanta. That's for sure. There's competition in Atlanta because my mom runs her business in Atlanta, but a lot of her business is in East Atlanta, the east side of Atlanta, a greater Atlanta metro area. There is competition, yes, but like I said, call around in Atlanta to see what these companies do. What do they offer? And then you might spread out past Atlanta, further past Atlanta. So you got Athens, Marietta, you got Stockbridge. All right, I know you got those areas, Lawrenceville. You got those areas that might not be tended to, but there is competition in Atlanta. That is true. I'm not gonna lie, because I've seen my mom build her business up in Atlanta for the past 20 years. But she doesn't run the whole city. That's the thing. There's money out there for everybody. So it just depends. And call those places and see what type of service they offer. How do they sound when they answer the phone? Do they sound friendly, or do they sound like they just want to get you off the phone? If you call them and they miss your call, do they call you back? I missed a call, unfortunately, from somebody maybe 10 minutes before this webinar started. I called her back and I answered all her questions, and she said, "Thank you for calling me back. Thank you for calling me back." Because no other place calls back. They don't do that. So that's things that you can do to set yourself apart. Offer mobile services. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So I think you asked that question already. So having your general liability insurance and your cyber insurance as well. That's fine. And then also, so far, luckily, I have not been sued. Doing good business, making sure that when you do the chain of custody, and I go into that in the course, making sure it's done right. Don't have egregious lies or don't forge anything on that. I haven't really seen in the past 20 years of me being knowing of this business of any lawsuits or anything of that nature. I haven't even seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist or it can't happen, but your general liability insurance will protect you. And then also having your entity set up to where they can't come after your personal assets. But that is something that you want to speak to an attorney about. I'm not an attorney. Okay. How can you plug? Yeah, getting to know them, reaching out to so for criminal cases, DNA testing is different for criminal cases. That's identifying a criminal. Now for paternity specifically, for family law and stuff like that, that's just getting to know the attorneys in your area, reaching out, networking. Like I said, one of my students met a judge just by going to a bar. That's just reaching out to people, sending cards, sending letters to the court system in your area. That's a huge thing. Just networking with people, going on LinkedIn, networking with attorneys. That's just it. That's how you plug yourself in there, and they will refer you. Because what happens is, when a judge orders does a court order paternity test, they can sometimes recommend, hey, here's a list of the places that you can go to get a paternity test, or they'll just say, go get a court order paternity test. And the person might say, well, where do I get that? Well, you can go to the child support system, or you can go, here's a list, or, whatever, here is a list of people or agencies that I can recommend. So that's how you can get yourself plugged in. It's just networking, beating them over the head. Yeah, some of my failures. Great question. Like I said, the biggest one. Sorry, drinking some water. One of the biggest ones was, like I said, trying to spread myself too thin. And I would get frustrated um, because I wasn't getting any tests. I wasn't getting any clients within like 2 weeks. So I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to advertise in Montgomery now. And I would set up ads in Montgomery and waste a bunch of money. And I would get calls. But like I said, I wouldn't truly, I didn't truly know the people of Montgomery or know I wouldn't research any of the competition at all. I would just set up ads in different random cities and waste a bunch of money thinking that things were the same in every single city. They're not. There's little tweaks that you can make. Um, I would not be sure in my pricing in the very beginning. My first DNA paternity test that I did, I charged a guy $169 for a home DNA kit or a informational kit when I could have charged $200 for that. But I wanted to get that sale, and I kept changing my prices over and over and over and over and over again. I wasn't really consistent in my prices, and that affected my profit margins. Now my prices are my prices; they're consistent. You want it or not, you know what I mean? But I made my prices that way to be competitive with the market out here. I price myself slightly lower, answer my phone, and that sets me apart. Um, this is not really more so of a failure. It was a strategy that I tried that I don't think worked very well. And that was I was advertising in a bunch of different domains, and I did podcast advertising, and I was thinking that I would start getting um, calls for my services only after a month of advertising on these different podcasts. You know, I would say, hey, could I advertise on your podcast? You got a certain segment of the population that might want this stuff, and it didn't really work. I wasted a bunch of money doing that, but I also didn't think that with podcast advertising and with other different types of advertising, people have to see it or hear it over and over and over and over and over again until they finally you get that brand awareness and people finally want to call you. I mean, when you listen to a podcast, when you hear the ad, you probably skip past it sometimes, unless the ad is like very tailored towards you, and then you want to get it. But you know, it wasn't necessarily a failure. It's just I pivoted from that and focused on Google Business and Better Business Bureau. All right. So great questions. Good questions, man. You're asking some great questions. You have any more? Because this is pretty much the end of the are higher end net worth individuals charged differently versus a person working minimum wage? Are you saying for DNA testing? Like if I know somebody is a business owner, no, but no, I don't do that. But there are celebrities who get paternity tests, and a DNA agency owner can charge higher because, you know, they're millionaires and they want privacy. So that person, that celebrity, would probably pay a higher price for that utmost privacy and that confidentiality. So I have not done that because I have not done any celebrities, but yes, yeah, you can. So if a rapper or basketball player or whomever is a big celebrity and has, you know, a big following and they want to keep their privacy in this situation, you could. So on average, if you charge $350 normally for somebody for a paternity test, you might could charge twice as much for a celebrity. You know, it just depends. I have not done that. That's on you. Do you make your own price point? That's on you. That's whatever you want to do. Once you start this business, you can do whatever you want with your prices. You know, I only advise what you do with your prices. But if you come across a celebrity, you know, now you don't want to be disrespectful and say, I'm gonna charge you $15,000 for a DNA test because that's just ridiculous. But you could charge a little bit higher because they want, but you have the service that you give has to be impeccable. You know, they're probably not going to come into your office or they're not going to meet you somewhere. You're probably going to go to their house, you know, and you probably would operate a little bit differently and send things off a little bit differently. You probably would use a different name for them or something like that in regular email communications. Can you mail out your DNA kits? You talking about to the celebrity or to anybody? Can you mail them out? I mean, you can mail them out. Yeah. So and I get into this in the course for the informational paternity test, yes, you can mail them out to them. For the ones that you do, no, you cannot, because you have to collect. I get into this in the course on the difference between chain of custody and non-chain of custody testing. That's in the course. Okay. But yeah, you can mail out the informational ones and they can swab themselves and send it into the lab, and the lab tests them. The lab charges you their fee for testing, and then you send the results to the individual. So I hope that answers your question. You have any more questions? Two students have scaled. Starting off from where they started, two students have scaled. One is on track to do $10,000 this month. Another, when he first started, he was doing maybe like one test a week. I think he's doing about 3 or 4 now. But on a national multi-million-dollar level, none of them have done that yet. Not yet, but it will happen at some point in time. I've thought about that. Does technology pose a threat to this industry? Unless, I don't think so. It's almost like asking, does technology pose a threat to, the notary business or being a barber or something like that? There still has to be some form of human interaction when you do a DNA test, like unless they invent robots that can swab and fill out a chain of custody, which I don't think will be worth it. And honestly, the industry is relatively low tech. Like doing DNA testing, so many DNA agency owners use a bunch of different systems, and some of them still, some people still want their results in the mail. It's still relatively low tech. So I don't think that automation will kill this industry. I don't think so. That's a really good question. That's the first time somebody's asked a question like that, but I've thought about it. Can you be in another country? Yeah, I was in the Bahamas and made $2,000 when I was on my honeymoon. And that's just coordination. Yeah, I was visiting the Bahamas on my honeymoon, made $2,000 coordinating 2 DNA tests. So yeah, you can be in another country and operate the business, because ultimately all you need is somebody to answer the phones, send invoices, and a collector to do the actual testing, or you outsource the collections to another facility in your area, which I get into in the course and in the Slack channel. Great question. I think this is Damien asking all the questions. Tony, do you have any questions? I see you're still on. So do you have any questions? Or Damien, I know you might have some more. Do I recommend partnering with doctors? Yeah, getting to know doctors helps, because some doctors have, they will have clients that are pregnant and may want a paternity test, and they want the non-invasive. So a doctor may recommend that client going to you. Yeah, I recommend that. Doctors and lawyers is good. Doctors, lawyers, and in the court system pretty much are the people that you want to partner with, or at least get a great relationship with. Tony says, still here. Damien has pretty much asked everything I can even think of. Shout out to him for the great. Yeah, he's asking some really good questions. These are really, really good questions. I'm gonna see if I can get my student to come on to this webinar real quick. Give me a second. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can, because he's started his business in September or October. Like I said, he's done $4,000 of sales this month so far, and is on track to do another 4,000 over the next couple of weeks. So and his goal was to do 10,000 this month. So I think he's going to do it. And that's 10,000 gross, by the way. I can get into that. Let me see. Bear with me. Give me just a second. I'm gonna get him on here. Give me just a second. What's the link? Bear with me. Adonis, what's up, man? How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on?
Yeah, man. How's it going, man? I'm good. How things going your way?
Everything going pretty good. I just closed for today. Actually just booked an appointment for Wednesday's prenatal.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Dope. So we got a couple of folks on the webinar right now. Damien has asked some phenomenal questions already. I've answered most of them, but I wanted to bring you on to show this can actually be done, right? And so I talked about researching your market, researching your competition. Tell Damien and Tony and the rest of the folks who are going to tune into this webinar after I record it, where you're at and how you did your research and why Big Easy DNA is better than all the other DNA testing businesses in your city.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Well, currently I'm doing business in New Orleans, Louisiana. And man, the competition is so horrible because their communication has been off with their clients. They also don't really advertise as much either. What I kind of did to help me out as far as to make my business a lot better was I did look at their reviews on Google. I also made phone calls to those businesses to see how they answer the phones. I went in person to see how would they treat me when I walk in the door, just little things like that. And I took those things and I just ran with it and implemented that in my business so that I can make myself better. Ever since then, I followed the course step by step and just added my twist as it comes. I will say Google Ads and the TikTok has been going really great for me. I started playing around with TikTok and it's helped me out a lot with advertising. A lot of the businesses in the area aren't even on that platform. So if you're into TikTok, into Instagram Reels, things like that, you'll definitely stand out.
Yeah, that's major. And Tony says he didn't realize you were a U.S. Navy. I'm a Navy veteran myself. Thank you for your service. So, yeah.
Nice.
Look at that. Hey, three of the four people are here in military. Shout out. Gotta love it. Yeah. So Adonis, so as y'all can hear, Adonis did his research. He followed the course step by step. The thing is too, is that, and Adonis is in New Orleans. The thing is too, is that the course gives you the blueprint and you can innovate on your own. There is, like, I'm not telling you this is the way to do it. I'm telling you a way to do it, at least for marketing. Okay. With marketing, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you want. Are there government contract opportunities for DNA testing? Yes, I have researched it, but the government on the large scale, so state governments like to give it to the actual laboratories. So at least in the state of Texas, where I'm at, I researched the government contract opportunities and they gave it to DDC. By the way, Adonis, they gave it to DDC. They gave I think a $1.5 million contract for DDC to do DNA testing for the state of government for at least the year 2020 and 2021. But what I am working on is in my local city government. Can they give, or I'm working with them to see if they can give contracts to me to do paternity testing for the entire judicial system in El Paso, Texas, or El Paso County. How about minority owned? I don't know, Damien. I'm not gonna even, I don't know. That's a good question. And I have to do my research on that and get back to you on that one. Yeah. So Adonis, what was the goal that you set for this month? And are you on track to accomplish your income goal for Big Easy DNA for this month?
Yes, the goal I set to end the year was at $10,000 for the month. Currently, I'm at about 4,500 right now for the month. Mm-hmm. And everything's been going great because I have so much in a pipeline. Every every weekend I always do a follow-up list, and it's been working good. Every time I follow up, it seems like I always get that person on the next time I call back. So that kind of been helping me with my numbers, just constantly staying in communication with people. But yeah, my goal was 10,000, and I'm already at 45. Got another prenatal set up for this week. And it's still long month left, a lot of month left
Yeah.
to knock out
Yeah.
those goals.
Yeah. We got 20 days left. What's Adonis's long-term play 24 down the months? Oh, Adonis. Okay. What's your long-term vision 2 years down the line for Big Easy DNA?
Well, long term, I'm actually adding to the team. So recently, I just hired an assistant because I also work a daytime job. So she's helped out a lot as far as answering phones for me. So it kind of eliminates a lot of the work they have to do in the beginning. Uh, Long term, I also expect to add more collectors on the team to kind of that way I can focus on building a business and not working on the business in the business. And I also want to add drug testing to the business as well. A lot of my competitors, they have drug testing and background checks, and that's their bread and butter. And from the outside looking in, seeing how they do business makes me realize that, okay, if their customer service is that bad and that's what they offer, and I'm doing good in this lane, if I take the time to be consistent with drug testing and background checks as well, maybe I can implement that as well at a later date, sometime the end of next year or the following year in 2023.
Mm-hmm. Same exact thing, Damien. So me and Adonis, we chat a lot in the Slack group. You know what I'm saying? We talk about, we plotted the same exact thing out. Ain't that right? Adonis, that's about right. So
yeah, that's right.
Same exact thing. I'm adding drug testing to my business as well late next year. So I'll be getting the Department of Transportation certification to do so. Yes, exactly, 100%. Me being active duty military, I'm going to leave the city of El Paso in the next 2.5 years. Okay. So I have to have at least a collector set up. And I'm soon also my wife right now, she answers all my calls. Okay. And she does all the follow-ups, but she's going to get back to work pretty soon. Okay. Because she's going to work in her field within the next 6 months. So I'm going to have a VA, which I'm working with one now. But I'm going to bring her on full time to answer all my calls, follow up, set up invoicing, all that stuff. So that's the scaling that I'm doing. And then adding like what he said, background check, drug testing, and fingerprinting as well. I add that as well to the DNA testing business. So long term, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, eventually selling the business, selling Assurance DNA. Adonis, I don't know if you knew this, there's a DNA testing business out in South Florida called All About Truth DNA Services, and DDC bought them a few years ago. It is for an undisclosed amount. I don't know how much they bought it for, but they bought them because their system was set up. So it's finalizing setting up the system. What's the investment for the course? $97 is the course cost. Okay, which essentially your first DNA test, you'll make that back 3.5 times over with your first DNA test. So the course is $97 and includes 90 minutes of video. It includes the link to their private Slack channel that nobody else has unless you buy the course. It has a list of all the labs, and like in that Slack, I'll talk on it for a second. But Adonis, I'd like you to speak on it too. In that Slack channel, I drop so much freaking game. I drop names of people that you can contact with these labs because I know them personally. That you can reach out that nobody else would. You would not have access to that stuff if you didn't even know about this course. Is that not right? Is that right, Adonis?
Yeah, that's actually true because in the beginning, I was doing a lot with DDC. In the group, we talked about another lab, and after working with that lab, I'm actually paying lower fees than I was, so I'm able to collect more of the profit now on back end. So it's allowing me to kind of still pay my assistant, pay the collectors, and still collect more money on the back end without hardly even doing most of the work.
Yeah, all it is, with that, at a certain point, it's really just coordination. past a certain point, it's coordination. But yes, there's different labs out there where you can get your price. They will charge you lower. And the lab that we're talking about, I'm only going to talk about it in the Slack channel. I'm not going to talk about it on this webinar, but I think they're owned by like 2 people. They're a smaller lab, a boutique lab, but you can reach out directly to them and they're freaking great. Okay. So all that stuff I talk about in the course, I'm sorry, in the chat. After enrolling, are you there for guidance? If so, yeah, I'm here for guidance. You can go on the Slack channel and at me in the Slack channel. Hey, Roll, I got a question about this. Or you can DM me if you don't want to put it, in the open. And it's like, DM me in the Slack channel. Hey, Roll, I got a question about this. I got you. I got, like I said, and Adonis is like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm accessible. Adonis was texting me this morning. Hey man, hey Roll, I got this going on. Yeah, bet for sure. Like, I got you for guidance. So that's pretty much it. Adonis, do you have any closing comments? I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you just finished up, but do you have any closing comments?
I just want to say, man, it's a great course. I still refer back to it from time to time. The Slack group is amazing, man. You got to get in that Slack group, because even if Royal is not there at the time or he's occupied, is other people in the Slack group that we kind of keep each other accountable. Everybody's bouncing ideas off each other, and we all just trying to be great, man. So yeah, it's definitely a great course, a great investment, and like you said, you'll make your money back times 10 within the first test.
Yeah, you'll be good to go. And then prenatals, man. Those prenatal tests are, oh my gosh, those are money. The profit margins are a little bit lower, but people want prenatal testing. And like I said, that's pregnancy paternity test. You can charge. Adonis, how much did you charge for the one that you have booked for next week? How much are you charging that person?
$15.99.
$15.99. Yeah, that's about industry standard. Yeah. And are you using RavGen or DDC to process that one?
RavGen for that one.
RavGen for that one. Yeah, RavGen. And depending on the turnaround time, RavGen will either charge $1,050 for that, or they'll charge $850 for the 21-day turnaround. So see what I'm saying, Damien? This stuff is all in the course in the Slack channel, man. This is all in the Slack channel. So I don't want to give away too much game in the webinar because you want to get in the Slack channel and get in the course and get that game. But that's where it's at. So I'm gonna put the link to buy the course here in the chat. Okay. So paternityuniversity.com is where you can buy it. You can watch all my videos, all my podcasts. I've been on like 7-8 podcasts. You can see everything, Andre Hatchett's podcast, Stamper Notary, Rafaniel, his podcast. I got a few more coming out, but you can see all my content. You can see testimonials, everything for this stuff. So go to paternityuniversity.com and I got you. All right. Thanks. Awesome webinar. Thanks for answering all the questions. I got you, Damien. I want to see you on the other side, Damien. All right. You too, Tony. I want to see y'all on the other side and see y'all set up y'all businesses, man. And I got you. And Damien, specifically, since you're in Atlanta, if you get on that course, I might compare you up with like I said, my mom, she runs her business in Atlanta and she can give you a ton of game. She's been doing it for 2 decades. So, let me know what you want to do. All right. So thank all y'all. Adonis, thank you so much for coming on, man. Thank you so much. And peace, man. This meeting is recorded, and I will put this on YouTube shortly. Okay, so y'all can refer back to it. All right. So thank y'all. Y'all have a good day. Peace.